Hello, welcome to Arsenal Nation Live. Today we face a tough test against the reigning Premier League champions Manchester City. And with me throughout the afternoon are our two fantastic studio guests, former gunner Jeremy Alliadier and comedian Johnny Cochran. Guys, great to have you with us. Before we get started, you might notice that we are all wearing these lovely badges. Today is the Arsenal Foundation game and we are supporting the fantastic work that they do in our community and around the world. Right, but let's get started then with this little gift to get the show underway. This is for Vivianne Miedema, just eating goals. Of course, Arsenal women beat Everton 3-1 today. Vivianne scoring 2 of those goals. Arsenal women are now top of the WSL. And that now takes Vivianne's goal scoring in the last campaign up to 23 goals, which is absolutely astonishing. She really is amazing. Guys, let's talk about the team news now, though. We know that there are 2 changes, Kolasinac and Guendouzi in. What are you expecting to see from the starting 11 this afternoon against City?
I'm personally pretty delighted. I am. I wanted Freddie to stick with his team. I felt like we kind of were developing some cohesion by the end of the West Ham game, when at the start we looked a little bit nervous. For us to start to get that kind of compatibility up front with our attacking lineup was really encouraging, and I wanted to see that starting in this game as well. Martinelli's the key man for me. I think that he has looked absolutely terrifying for a long time now, and I just love watching that guy out there just tearing defences up. Let's go. Like a dog with Christmas wrapping paper. Let's go.
I love that analogy. Yeah, he has been brilliant, hasn't he, in cup competitions, and actually it's really nice to see that he's been given his full Premier League debut last week. He's starting again today. How much do you think he deserves to be in our starting 11?
I think he should be the first name on the starting lineup for me at the moment. He's every time he's on the pitch, he gives something different. You see the desire that he's got to do everything, to fight, at least to fight. You can make mistakes, technically, but at least he gives everything. Attack, but defense, he does his duty as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see him carry on from what he's done so far, yeah.
Let's take a look at the reaction from you guys at home on social media then. The first tweet here from Patrick. Ozil behind Aubameyang with Martinelli and Pepe out wide. Of course, it was Aubameyang, Martinelli and Pepe that netted against West Ham last week. It will be a huge test indeed, regardless of City's recent form, but I'm quite content with that lineup. So Patrick's pleased, as are we in the studio. We have another one to take a look at as well then. No, that's all we've got from the social media reaction. So guys, are you in agreement with Patrick? It seems that he's highlighting City's recent dip in form. Are you pleased with the way we're taking on City today?
Absolutely, I agree. I actually think that, considering injuries, this is actually the best lineup we could play. This is the best lineup we could start with. As of right now, taking form into it as well. I mean, the thing is we have been a little bereft of confidence over recent weeks. Obviously, we've got rid of our manager, and we're still in that process, but we're not the only ones in this game today who've had real confidence knocks. And I think that this may be a game today where whoever can get into the other team first and put the doubt into the opposition's mind might actually get the victory today, because they will not like it if we get into them early. You might start seeing some of their heads drop, because I don't think they've got the same leadership that underpins their team the way they had last year with, say, Kompany and the likes of Aguero playing, I think.
Now, we spoke about Martinelli impressing in cup competitions and, of course, the Premier League last week. But another player that has been particularly impressive in the Europa League is Saka. He was at the centre of all things positive in our last outing in the Europa League. Just take a look at some of these numbers. Really, really outstanding stuff from the youngsters. There he is, sitting top of the Arsenal assists this season. Extremely impressive. Another stat here, Saka's game by numbers. It's unbelievable, actually, how good he was for us last week. And a final one here to take a look at. Saka was directly involved in 6 shots for Arsenal in the first half, more than than the entire Liège side combined. They had 5. He was incredible, wasn't he? And actually, Jeremy, he was playing in a position that he's not used to being in. How hard is that to do, and how impressive is it that he performed so well?
Yeah, that's just, it just shows how mature he is as a player, because to be able to swap position and do something that you're not really, good at such a young age is massive credit for him. And what I like about him, which is a massive surprise for me this season, I never expected him to, to play first and then to play so well. So it's just how he just got no fear. He tries, and even if he makes a mistake, you don't hear him complain or anything. He just crack on with it and carry on and keep trying. And he's got obviously a fantastic left foot. Them crosses that he keep putting in the box are just amazing. So shame that we not see him today, but it's long game, yeah. And then he's still got time.
Well, we've taken a look at the numbers, but it's also the fans that have been getting in on the action. They've been absolutely loving what he's been doing on the pitch at home, and this is just brilliant. There he is with the Ballon d'Or. He looks good with it, doesn't he? Johnny, is it nice for the fan base to kind of see Freddie giving so many young talent a start and giving them a chance out there?
Absolutely. I think just to kind of touch on what Jeremy was saying as well, what's been so refreshing with Saka is, all of these players that are coming through the academy, they've all got talent. Otherwise they wouldn't be there. But not everyone has the right mentality, the mentality to take on the responsibility and say, I want the ball in difficult situations and I'm not going to wilt under pressure. That is something that you would expect older players to develop into. It comes with maturity. And Saka is a bad man. He's an absolute bad man. It's great to see it, and it's the same mentality that I see from Martinelli, someone who's not actually scared. They walk out there and they could sit there and go, I'm quite young, this is a big stadium, there's lots of players. They're not going out there, they're going out there going, I want to be the best player on the pitch. And we know in midweek at least, Saka delivered on that. So when you see players make that final leap to not only make it at the professional standard, but also start to push on and establish yourself as a very, very good professional, I think it's that final bit in your head to say, I belong here, and I actually believe that Saka feels that he belongs here, like Martinelli, and it's just great to see.
Yeah, there's been a whole host of impressive performances from youngsters in the Europa League, and coupled with results elsewhere, it does mean that we finished as the winners of Group F. So we've got a table to take a look at now, because we have managed to avoid, in doing so, some heavyweights in the Europa League competition. There we are, sitting top of Group F. Great to see. So avoided the likes of Inter and Ajax, which can only be a good thing. This is a particularly strong kind of lineup in the Europa League this season compared to previous years. Who do we need to avoid? What do we need to look out for?
Well, Ajax, obviously, I think there will always be a strong team. Inter Milan. But I just think, Europa League is a massive opportunity for us to maybe get Champions League next season. So I think we really need to take it seriously. And whoever, we've got to play, I think we're good enough. We've got a good enough squad to win and go as far as last year at least and win it this time.
I mean, I think the fact is, let's be honest about it. No Arsenal fan wants to be in the Europa League. That's not what we're in it for. We want Champions League football, and it may be that the only way we end up getting Champions League football is winning it, like Jeremy says. And I think that we can't look at that competition and the prospect of facing anyone with any fear. We're going to have to beat everyone at the end of the day, and we shouldn't fear. If we take Ajax on, they've sold most of their best players. Let's do them. Inter Milan, don't scare me. Let's go. And the rest of them don't even know who you are. We're Arsenal. Let's go. You're all getting knocked out. What we do need, I know we're going to talk about it later, but when the next manager comes in, we need to establish ourselves as quickly as possible so we can go on a run later on, and hopefully that might take us to a victory in this competition, because, like I say, it might be the only way we do get in the Champions League next year.
He's quite scary when he gets going, isn't he, Jeremy? He's very passionate. He loves it, does that, Johnny? We need him in the dressing room.
We should have Jim in the dressing room.
We need it.
I'm available.
He's available. Well, you led us very nicely onto our next section that we're going to talk about. We are going to chat about who is the next boss. Now, I just wanted to have a little disclaimer here. This is not dealing in any form of speculation. We're just going to be talking about you guys, the fans at home, what you've been saying on social media and kind of reacting to a few of your comments online. We're going to start off with this tweet here from David and what he had to say on the matter. So essentially, he's just trying to say there's no rush and it's important that we get the right man for the job. Before we get to the fans' thoughts, guys, who would you like to see being given the job?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is just speculation. So even if I do that, don't think about it. No. So I would say it's great that we're even talking about this as well, and it's good the club are letting us, because I think the next appointment is an important one, and we need to think carefully about the direction we want to take it in. I know that some of the names getting linked around with Arteta. Obviously, he's on the opposition bench today. He's getting mentioned, and he's affiliated to the club, so that's great. But for me, he's got no managerial experience, and I'm not opposed to him. But I also am not completely convinced why his name keeps getting brought up so high up our list of candidates. For that matter, I think Vieira would have to get a mention because he is actually a club legend.
He's definitely getting ahead of himself, isn't he? Because we only want one name at this point, because we are going to talk about the likes of Arteta later.
OK.
So I'm going to push you for one name.
If I'm pushed, I'd maybe at this stage have to go for Allegri. Well, actually, all right, no. It's nearly Christmas. It's nearly Christmas, and you're saying Santa brings me anything. I'll take Pochettino.
Wow.
There we go. Yeah, I don't mind saying it.
There he is. What do you have to say about that, Jeremy?
What about Pochettino or about who I want?
A bit of both, I think.
No, to be honest, you can't. What he's done at Spurs is obviously amazing, even if he didn't win any trophy. Hey.
We had to get that in there.
But no, who I would like to come, I would like Patrick to come. Obviously, I've played with him. I know what kind of person he is. I know the respect he would have coming back to the club from the fan. And, I know how he was as a captain, so, I would expect the same as a manager, which, he won't be soft with his player, which I think sometimes, you want to manage, you want a team at the image of the manager. And I think, if we could have a team same as like of Patrick Vieira in his playing time, I think we'll do quite good.
Very well, yeah.
Speaking of players you played with, the man that's in the seat right now is one of them. Let's start the chat about Freddie then, shall we? This is his 5th game as interim head coach. We've got a tweet on him here. Freddie's doing a good job. Can see signs of our brand of football, strengthen that midfield and defence, and we are there. A couple more then on Freddie in charge. I don't understand why people are against the job to Freddie or Arteta. Talking about first-time managers and maybe how we should give them a bit more of a chance, touching on what Johnny mentioned earlier. And a third one on this then, we need an experienced head to settle the ship, in my opinion. So this one's a contrasting tweet to the last one. So people are calling for different things. Some people are happy to go for an unexperienced manager. Other ones, kind of want to see people with a bit more experience. Johnny, does it have to be somebody that's going to be in the seat for a long time? Are we looking for longevity with this appointment?
Do you know what? In a way, I don't think it necessarily matters. I think because we sat through such a long managerial reign under Wenger, there was that notion that we had to, get another Wenger in. Look, whoever is our next manager is not going to be here for 22 years. And I don't think they should be. We should be looking for the maximum output of any manager that we have at any one time. And if they don't kind of cut the mustard, it's not about being disloyal. We are a club that should constantly be moving. So whoever that manager is at the time, you have to deliver. And I think that with our last managerial appointment, I thought it was right at the time. He had a go, and if you're not getting it right, and if the fans don't see progression, they have to be moved on. So I'd love a manager to come in and have 5 years, 6 years, but it would only be so if they are successful in the post. Otherwise, gotta go.
Gotta go. Always says it how it is, don't you? Well, let's take a look at a few more tweets then about experience versus maybe someone new to the job. This one's from Top Guns. Yeah, he's just saying experience isn't necessarily always the way. Younger managers with new ideas is the way forward. So our last few tweets we looked at was not alone. Let's take a look at the next tweet then. Pep should let Arteta take the reins this weekend. Freddie versus Arteta, winner gets the Arsenal job. Very clever, I like that one. And a final one. Fans who want Arteta over anyone else, answer me this. What does he have that makes him suitable for the job? Anything at all? Apart from once being an Arsenal player. Potentially a little bit brutal there. But Jeremy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. He will be in the dugout today. What do you make of that potential appointment?
I think what he's got, he's obviously been working with Pep Guardiola, which that is a massive advantage, you know, because obviously people relate him to what Pep is doing and what he's done all his career. So that will be the reason why, you know, people will think it could be a good appointment. But, you know, as Johnny said, if you go for Arteta, then why not go for, you know, Patrick Vieira or even giving it to Freddie, leaving Freddie in and see what he can do to the end of the season. So, you know, for me, I just no experience. I just think, you know, you bring your own stuff, and as long as you know the direction you go into and you don't get lost on the way, changing too many things and not really knowing where you're going, then that's where it gets wrong. I think if you go with your mindset and what you want to do, then you've got to give the guy time and judge him after a season or two, you know, whatever, you know, long we give him.
Yeah, it's something we could definitely talk in length about, but we are going to move the chat on to today's opponents, Manchester City. Of course, they have had a recent dip in form. We were talking off camera earlier. You know, they will have a bruised ego following the Manchester derby. We've got two tweets to take a look at on that then. This one's from Aaron Brown. Thanks for this. As poor as Arsenal has been of late, meeting Man City now might not be the worst thing. So, yeah, fans are happy to be playing them now, it seems. We've got another one on this. Gustav has said probably one of the best times to face Man City, to be fair. They're struggling as well. Do you think that it is a good time to be playing them? You know, they've had two unbelievable seasons. I suppose, is that really sustainable for any longer? And are you thinking this is the right time to play them?
I think it is a good time to play them, actually. I mean, I was mentioning before, I was on the tube the other day and some geezer came up to me and went, "Oh, you off Arsenal Nation?" Shout out to you, by the way. And he was saying...
Had to get that in there, didn't you?
You know, do come over, say hello. But he was saying that he wasn't very confident going in. And, you know, I was saying it as well. And at the time I was thinking, oh, we could get done. It is City, you know. But then over the last 2 days, I don't know what it is. I think it's just kind of the realisation that they really are in a rut of form. You know, like, in terms of... The problem with City is they have a belief in terms of the way they play, and they are consistently going to play that all the time. But I feel like they've got a problem not with their technical ability, it's with their mentality this year. In tough positions, they've just not had enough to either, one, find the extra gear, or two, hold out. Like, you know, I remember watching a Newcastle game with them. Take a late lead and you think this is definitely City's game. They still couldn't get over the line. And those are the kinds of things that we've seen Arsenal struggle with this year. So I do feel like this could be a real game. We played a struggling team last week in West Ham, who do have some good players, but mentally are fragile. And I think this is just a better version of them right now in terms of mentally not quite there. So if we can get into them early and maybe get a couple of goals, I think you might see City capitulate. But don't hold me to it.
We'll see about that at half-time. I hope you're right.
It's 3-0 down.
Well, yeah, they're certainly not performing at the level we're used to seeing from them. And we're actually going to take a look at a couple of tweets from some Man City fans now. This one's from Peter. Thanks very much. We've players not in peak form. We've got injuries. Obviously, the likes of Aguero out, which is a huge blow for them. Probably not invested enough in defenders of quality. A little luck with VAR. You know, he's not particularly happy is Peter, is he? Daniel, another one from a Man City fan here. Despite overall control of the game, that was a useless performance against an in recent times struggling Man United team. Yeah, a massive blow for them losing to United. And a final one here from Wallace. Man City have a lower mid-table defence. Surely Guardiola must have known this, but despite the fortunes they've spent on defenders, they're still struggling. So yeah, they're not having a great time, City fans, are they? They're not enjoying it, but actually it kind of seems that today is time to capitalise on that and pounce on them when they're not at their peak, Jeremy.
Yeah, they're not at their peak, but they're still, they've still got qualities and good players. So I think, like Johnny says, we've got both teams today that are mentally fragile and a little bit shaky, and I think the first 20 minutes are going to dictate the rest of the game. If we start on the front foot and really put them under pressure, then we could definitely hurt them today. If we don't, which we've done quite often this season, then it could go the other way. So it's difficult to really call it, and we'll just have to hope that our boys are in a good day today.
The other thing is, it was Raheem Sterling's birthday this week, so a couple of the players might have hangovers.
That analogy. They may well do. Who knows?
Anything. We'll take anything.
I'm seeing videos. John Stones looks like he was having a very good time, and he was singing like Shabba Ranks.
Although I did read Guardiola banned them all from the Christmas party because he wanted them to be ready for today.
They've not listened.
Who knows? Maybe they just had too much of a good time at Sterling's party. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right, let's take a look at a bit of a positivity tweet here then. Reasons why we will win today. This is from Henry. Thanks for this. Reasons why Arsenal will beat Man City on Sunday. Pep Guardiola has never played against Gabriel Martinelli. It's so true. I love that one. Right, we're going to get straight on to Game of the Decade. Of course, we are approaching a brand new decade. So we're going to be looking at the Game of the Decade. So we're going to come to Johnny and Jeremy. We're going to put them under pressure. They will each have just 90 seconds to state their case, tell us why they have chosen this game as the best game of the decade. And you guys can have your say as well. You can comment below and tell us whether you prefer Johnny's game or Jeremy's game, and we'll be announcing the winner at half-time. Johnny, you are going to be up first. OK, can we put 90 seconds on the clock? Let's go.
Right, now, when you talk about Game of the Decade for Arsenal, it's the obvious thing to start going down the cup final route. We have won a couple of trophies. But if you want a game that encapsulated that moment where anything was possible, it was taking on the great Barcelona team. This is a team that it was like playing FIFA for them, on rookie mode, that kind of thing. And we took them on with Messi, with David Villa, with Ibrahimovic, and we still just stepped up to the mark and said, you know what, we can play with anyone. If there was a game that made me feel like we could beat anyone in the world, it was this. And I just genuinely remember it with such glee when you see Arshavin running through in the last minute and smashing it into the net. And I just thought, we can win the Champions League. We didn't, but for that moment, I knew what it felt like to be the best team in Europe. And also a big shout out to Jack Wilshere's greatest game, one of the best midfield performances ever seen in an Arsenal shirt, certainly in my lifetime. He was absolutely outstanding. Never really got back to the heights of this, but that's because it was so high. He made Xavi and Iniesta look like pub players that game. So shout out to Jack Wilshere. This was my game of the decade.
Oh, so good. And do you know what? I think my favourite thing about that, Johnny, was the way you weren't envisioned for that. We were seeing match highlights, but you were still staring down the barrel of the camera and just, really getting your point across. I really liked that. Jeremy, right, you're up next. You ready for it?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's start the time.
Well, for me, all the big games is when you win a trophy. That's what's important. It's what, at the end of 10 years, what have you won? So for me, obviously the FA Cup final against Chelsea, where a lot of people didn't expect us to win. We absolutely battered them. Alexis Sanchez, Ramsey. We were much stronger on that day. Diego Costa could do whatever he wanted. Holding had it in his pocket. Absolutely, stopped him doing anything. So for me, winning trophy will always be the best memories. And unfortunately, that's 2017. We need another one.
Okay, also a great effort and well under the time as well. So it's up to you guys who you agree with. Make sure you're commenting below, telling us on Arsenal Nation who you agree with. Is it Johnny or Jeremy? We do have to see the winner. We are going to wait for this one. It was a great day, wasn't it?
I know what Jeremy is saying, to be honest. He's making some really good points. It is, you're winning a
He's
trophy.
He's making the excuses early doors. Are you going back on your game in the decade?
I think he wanted the same game.
I think he did.
I think he's just wanted the same game.
I just remember the glee I had when Aaron Ramsey smashed that in as well, and against Chelsea of all teams. It was lovely.
You're actually not helping yourself out here, Johnny, because remember you want people to vote for your game.
Straight away.
I think the people at home know the Barcelona game better than Chelsea, aren't they? You know what I mean? Stick with my game.
Okay, well, don't forget we'll be announcing that at half-time. Make sure you continue to get the comments in. But before we let Jeremy jump up to the comms bot, we are going to take a look at the results from yesterday's games. So this is a tweet from the Premier League. It was indeed a big day in the PL. It always is. Liverpool 2-0 there. They're flying, aren't they? Any shock results for you guys there?
Well, it was lovely to see Bournemouth get that win at Stamford Bridge. Obviously, weren't necessarily expecting them to scoop up points. They've not been on tremendous form, but wonderful for them to go in and take the wheels off Chelsea's bandwagon. But that just opens the door for us, and it's whether we can capitalise on that now.
Leicester 1-1 there as well. You know, they're obviously sitting in second position there. Did that shock you?
I don't think we look that high up the league anymore, Kennedy. Let's be honest about it.
Let's just think about ourselves.
Exactly, closer to Norwich, I think, these days.
Well, Man United finished 1-1 today. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know about the Spurs result either, but they were drawing last time I checked. So if that is the case, we're talking about two very, very good results for us. If we can go on and capitalise, which is a tall order, of course, but, if we do, we can close up that gap towards top four and maybe leave us with a chance of getting in there with a good run in the second half of the season.
Now, the majority of my job is pretty excellent here on Arsenal Nation, but sometimes there's bad bits. I do have to deliver some bad news. Tottenham did win 2-1, a 91st minute winner. You can't see their faces right now, but they're not happy. What do you guys make of that result? He's off, he's out, he doesn't want in anymore.
I'm going off.
I have a little bit of a sweetener in that I have Dele Alli in my fantasy league team. So if you can tell me he scored, no, I have to.
That's exactly what I said earlier on.
You said that as well, yeah.
It may be FPL, but it's still not okay.
No, I have to, because then it makes it easier. If they do get results, then there can be a little bit of sunshine at the end of the storm,
right.
So.
I hear you. OK, I'll let you off. Well, Jeremy, we're going to let you jump up to your comms position. And whilst he's doing that, we are going to take a look at some of the best goals we've scored against Manchester City.
Well won, Arteta. Don't fancy a dip here. Yes! Arsenal have their breakthrough. Mikel Arteta. Wilshere, good header. Here's Alexis. Oh, what a brilliant goal! Alexis Sanchez!
Ooh, some absolute belters there. Of course, we're hoping for much more of the same today. But before we get to the match, it's time for In Case You Missed It. Always love this part of the show. And we're going to start with one that's pretty special. Some things are just written in the stars. Have a look at this for our first In Case You Missed It. Former Tottenham youngster Marcus Edwards scored the goal that helped us to top Group F in the Europa League. And this tweet from James is pretty awesome. You love to see it. You definitely do. Johnny, have you ever cheered anything Spurs related? Other than your FPL team?
Yeah, Dele Alli? No, I think we were talking about this earlier, and 1999, when we needed Spurs to beat United on the final day of the season, or not even just not get beat, I think. And all we had to do was beat Villa at home. And we did our part. And then Spurs, after taking an early lead, just absolutely bottled it. And United won and then won the league. But that is what Spurs are. They're bottle jobs. They've made a life out of it. So that is the way it is, And I'm sure they were pleased that we didn't win the league. And I'm pleased that they didn't win the Champions League. So there.
Right, next up, for in case you missed it, he's brilliant, isn't he? This is a nice little exchange on Twitter about Arsenal women. This is pretty cool. So we start off with Tim's tweet here. He's saying, Arsenal women have scored 20 goals in their last 2 home games. Absolutely outrageous. And he got a cheeky little reply from none other than Leah Williamson. You can see her reply there. That's actually a bit mad. It really, really is. Unbelievable from them. And Tim replied again, even you scored one. Very cheeky indeed from Tim. Have you ever had an exchange like that on Twitter, Johnny?
You don't even want to get it.
We don't want to get into the DMs.
You invite people into your world, and then there's rarely nice things to say, But no, it's at least Leah's giving out some good banter there anyway, and getting involved with the fans as they're talking, because Arsenal ladies are on absolute fire right now. 20 goals in 2 games is insane. That is like a really good pub team doing over the worst pub team in the league. That kind of level. Amazing.
Well, it's 23 goals now, isn't it, after today, which makes it even more crazy. It's absolutely impressive indeed. But speaking of Leah Williamson, she will be appearing on Arsenal Nation, the podcast, this week, which is very exciting. We're really looking forward to that. And this is what you can expect.
And what's that? So I've got a lot of different influences. My granddad had a UK top 40 hit.
What? hold on, wait. I want to find out about that first. Come on.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
My granddad was in a band called the Good Time Losers, and Trafalgar Square. Bit of a hit back then. None of you would have heard of it. But,
is it on Now 40 or something? Now that's what I thought music. That kind of vibe.
Like one of them stories where you just say, he had a top 40 hit, and we leave it at that. So I hope it's true.
Everyone's Googling this right now.
Wow, what a guest. Really looking forward to that one, actually, Johnny. The podcast has been incredible. Really enjoyed it so far. How's it been for you guys recording them?
It's so much fun, it really is. And to be honest, just being with Nick and Jeremy and just, talking about the kind of behind the scenes of football, it's been fascinating, as well as I say, lots of fun and funny at times. And I think the guests have really added to what we've been able to put out. Leah, none more so than Leah, should I say. Considering, we've seen such a growth in the women's game, and everyone is really getting behind the Arsenal ladies, and rightfully so, because they're rampaging, I think, to another title this year again. But, she's so down to earth and just really, really nice and very funny as well. It's just nice to be able to see what life is like, behind the pitch, basically, when she's not playing, how she is with her family, what it was like coming up in the women's game, and how that's differed from those ladies that have come before her. So, really informative stuff, and I implore you guys, if you're interested in football and Arsenal, give it a listen. It's available in all the places you could get podcasts, and you'll get to hear more of my voice, which I hope is a good thing.
And what a time to be speaking with her as well, when Arsenal are back on top in the WSL. And it's out on Tuesday, am I right?
Out every Tuesday, yeah. Last week's, if you haven't listened to last week's, was with Reece, and we were talking about injuries. I think one of the things that we've always aimed to do is to try and give a different side of football, It's not just about talking about the stuff that's happening, currently on the pitch, because we obviously see that, and that's what we do on Arsenal Nation Live. But to be able to see what it's like for players behind the scenes and, having come through the academies. And there's so many stories. Jeremy is just riddled with fantastic stories. He's always got me laughing. So, tune in, at least give it a go, and subscribe if you like it, and tell your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Really looking forward to listening to that on Tuesday. Make sure you subscribe. It's going to be brilliant. Now, time for our final, in case you missed it. And a little insight into Big Sam's motivational tactics. Yes, Mr. Sam Allardyce. This is just brilliant. Johnny, what I want to know is, which movies would you use if you were giving a team talk today? How would you inspire the current 11?
It's difficult, really. I'm thinking maybe Free Willy. You know what I mean? Because that whale, you know, he had to work really hard to get out of there, didn't he? You know, and we are caged in a little trapped pool of, you know, kind of underachievement up until now.
Can I just jump in? Out of all the films I thought you were going to come out with, Free Willy was not one of them, but please carry on.
Inspirational, inspirational. And as fans, we could sit here if we manage to pull off the win today, you know, and it's like we're breaking out of our little contained pool of, you know, underachievement, and there's that wow jumps over our heads. As fans, we're just touching up, we're like, go Arsenal, go! You know, so Free Willy. Get them players watching that and go, this can be you.
There you go.
Wow,
hopefully you're still with us there. Love that, Johnny. Well, don't forget, we'll be back at half-time. We will be revealing what was the winner from our game of the decade and, of course, having more analysis from the first 45 as well. But for now, let's get you up to your commentary duo. It is Dan Roebuck and Jeremy Alliadier.
Well, Arsenal take on the champions this afternoon off the back of qualifying for the last 32 of the Europa League and completing a win in the Premier League for the first time in 2 months. A flicker of form, perhaps, then, for the Gunners here. Let's hope so, because Manchester City have got an excellent recent record against the Gunners. However, they themselves have hit something of a rough patch. Yes, they did manage to win in the Champions League in midweek to rubber stamp their qualification to the last 16, but they've only won 3 of their last 8 in all competitions. We can massage, Jeremy, the stats one way or another. Is there any time to play Manchester City when they're down and out? Is this a good time, do you think, off the back of that derby defeat last weekend?
Yeah, you would think so. Obviously, they're a bit shaky at the moment. They're not at their best. Defensively, they've got problems, but, you know, they're still a great side with obviously great talent and fantastic players. So is it a good time? I would say yes, but it's a good time if we turn up and if we start the game on the front foot and really go for it.
Arsenal, with those 2 changes from the win over West Ham, the last Premier League encounter. I'll give you the full lineup. Bernd Leno in goal. Kolasinac in at left-back. Tierney, of course, is out with that discolorated shoulder. Maitland-Niles on the right-hand side. Chambers and Socrates as the central defensive partnership once again. Torreira and Guendouzi. Guendouzi coming in for Granit Xhaka. And then Martinelli, Pepe, Ozil in behind Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. When you look at that front 4, and I'll ask you about them all, Martinelli, just a second Premier League start, a first Emirates Premier League start. He's only 18 years old. He's not letting anyone down this season. He's been fantastic for Arsenal. But crikey, this is a bit of a step up, isn't it, for him?
It is a massive step up for him, but, you know, from what I've seen so far this season, I actually can't remember one, you know, period of any game where I thought he's not doing great here. I think he's been fantastic from beginning. So I'm really hoping that he can you know, perform today, because he really deserves it. His work rate is fantastic. He never gives up. He gives, you know, 100%. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see him against, you know, a top team.
Nicolas Pepe scored from open play against West Ham, had a really good second half display. Everyone's suggesting he looks like he's turned the corner here, because he has put in some good performances, but he's just been a little inconsistent. First season in English football, having played in French football previously. Know it's going to be difficult, but I think we saw what he's capable of at West Ham, didn't we?
What I've been impressed with him so lately, in the last few games I've seen, is the way he takes the ball now. He feels more confident, the way his first touch is, and the way he moves forward straight away on his first touch, which before he was a little bit shy. Wasn't sure, you know, if he could do it, and now he's realising that actually he's got the skills and the pace to do it, and I think it's just a confidence with him.
Speaking of confidence, Mesut Ozil, he's got this running the side at the moment, in and out at the start of the campaign. He's in again today, started at West Ham. Like a lot of Arsenal players, didn't have a great first 45 minutes, but you always sense that, look, he is capable of being one of the best players in the world still. This should be staged against Manchester City, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be, because it's the type of team where they let you play. They're not going to be all over you. They let you play. They love to play, which is, you know, is the style of what Mesut Ozil likes to play football. So it should be the type of game for him. But like you said, it's been an up and down season for him. But, you know, he's the type of player that with only playing good for 5 minutes is capable of making you win the game. So, you know, I feel players like that, you've got to have them on the pitch.
Oba's playing up front. Now, Alex Lacazette is on the bench. There's been a lot of discussion amongst supporters and pundits over the last few weeks about playing them together. If we put Lacazette in, Oba plays out on the left-hand side, and the suggestion is, well, look, he's your top goal scorer, he scored goals for fun, he's our best finisher. You've got to have him through in the middle. I mean, do you agree with that? Would you try and get them both in the team?
I'm a big fan of Lacazette. I like his style of play. He plays for the team. He always gives 100% as well. So obviously I would love to have him in the team, but unfortunately lately Martinelli and Pepe have been so good that it's difficult to take one of them two out of the team. Aubameyang's got to be in the team. He's the top scorer, the captain. So it's tough to find a space for Lacazette in there.
At the moment, Laka is only on the bench. As for Manchester City, Ederson in goal, back four from left to right of Mendy, Otamendi, Fernandinho, of course, and Walker at right back. And then a midfield trio of Foden, Rodrigo and Gundogan, De Bruyne and Sterling in behind Gabriel Jesus. No Laporte, he's been out all season for Manchester City. No David Silva, the club captain, he's out because of injury. And also no Sergio Aguero, and Aguero is the big miss, isn't he? Because he's got such a fantastic record against Arsenal over the years.
Yeah, for sure. He's obviously the big miss, Aguero. I think Laporte was the big miss since he got injured. That's when Man City start really, having problems defensively. Fernandinho was supposed to be there to play in defense once, twice a season, not every single game like he has lately. So. Yeah, when you miss your top goal scorer and your best central defender, it's always going to be tough.
We're just about ready for kick-off here. Send us your thoughts, Arsenal Nation at arsenal.co.uk, and we will read the best out over the course of the game when we get an opportunity. And of course, you can hashtag your comments, Arsenal Nation, and we will be reading the best out over the course of the 90 minutes, plus of course at half-time and at full-time as well. One or two emails that have already come in ahead of kick-off. John, who's currently in sunny and warm Lanzarote, he tells me, says this match will show the gap between us and the top clubs and frighten off anyone contemplating taking the manager's job. Don't be so negative, John, ahead of kick-off. We're just about to get underway. What do you make of the managerial situation at the moment? Freddie's interim coach. Would you like to see him get it? Somebody else? Any thoughts?
Listen, what I've always said is that I'm happy for anybody to get the job, and I think Freddie's got the skill and the desire to get that job on a permanent basis. But what I want to see is I want to see a manager that got ideas and stick to it. Got a system, got his players to play in a certain way and don't change and go with it. Even if it's going to be tough at the beginning, but to stick with his views and his mentality and just crack on with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's what I would like to see. Someone who's got a definitive plan for the players that he's got, wants to play a certain way. Stick with it, see it through, see where it takes you. There's enough quality in this squad, I think.
For sure, without a doubt.
Get set for a start. Our referee is Paul Tierney. Arsenal have never lost with Paul Tierney as the man in the middle. If you think that's going to stay the same, let us know, Arsenal Nation at arsenal.co.uk. If you've been watching on Facebook, then if you want to continue listening to the audio commentary, then switch to the Arsenal website or the Arsenal app to continue. We're underway here at the Emirates. Last on over the course of the Sunday. Manchester United drew earlier today. Spurs somehow got the better of Wolves at Molineux. There is one more game this weekend. Palace take on Brighton tomorrow night before we run into those Christmas fixtures, with Arsenal travelling up to Everton, of course, next weekend. Let's see what Arsenal can do from the get-go here. Martinelli is racing forward, a twist and a turn, edge of the area, inside the box, still going forward! Oh. Terrific stop from Ederson. That would have been the goal after, 35 seconds against the champions, and it was all Martinelli.